Hello all, welcome to LTX classes. From the team of LTX, we are wishing you a very and prosperous new year. Let's may this new year bring positivity to your life and success in the examinations. So without any delay, let's start with our daily MCQ session. Let's look at the question number 1. Consider the following statements. First option, IUCN red listed Indian pangolin as endangered. Second option, it listed under Schedule 1 Part 1 of Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Okay, what would be the correct answer? Here the correct answer is C, both the statements. Let's know the reasons. If you are following my classes since the last couple of days, I already spoken about IUCN. It deals with the International Union for Conservation of Nature for flora and fauna. It listed Indian pangolin as endangered. That is a factual statement. It is actually a correct statement. Whenever any fauna flora is of significant in nature that was listed in the Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act, just to make it more significant and important for the natural conservation. Okay, that makes both the statement correct. So now that we understood about Indian pangolin, let's look at the reason for picking up this question. The question is basically to do with Odisha radio tags rescued pangolin. It is the first attempt to standardize rehabilitation protocol for the animal. Because it listed Indian pangolin here. Odisha Forest Department and Environment Department has completed its first ever radio tagging of Indian pangolin in an attempt to standardize rehabilitation protocol for the state in the animal. Okay, for those who don't know about pangolin, actually the name says about Indian pangolin, but it's not just restricted to India. It is also found in Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka and Pakistan. And along with this we have Chinese pangolin also. It is found in Himalayan foothills. Okay, as I already said, it's in the IUCN red list. It's in endangered status. So there are some certain reasons to be listed in endangered because of the threats to poaching in India, hunting and poaching for local consumptive use. Example, it is very good, rich in protein. Even pangolins are used for traditional medicine. Even for that matter, international trade for its meat and scales in East and Southeast Asian countries are also very famous. So that what makes Indian pangolin all the more important. So with this, let's go to the next question. Consider the following statements. National Family Health Survey started in 1992 by Ministry of Health. Second statement, it held in 2 phases. Third statement, it declared TFR as 3.1. So what would be the correct answer? Here the correct answer is C, 1 and 2 only, because the third statement is incorrect, because the total fertility rate as per the 5th National Family Health Survey is 2.1. It's not 3.1. For those who don't know about total fertility rate, it's the total number of children that women can reproduce in her lifetime. Usually, if you could see during 1960s and 70s, the total fertility rate of India is around 6.6%. So now come to 2021, now it got depleted to 2.1%, which makes there is a declining trend in the population explosion, which is a very good measure. But if you follow some certain international guidelines, international report, just like World Population Index, World Population Report, which says that India population, it's gonna be peak during 2040, and after that it gonna see a declining trend. So this is one of the aspect where we can see the population, the TFR is decreasing. Along with the TFR, the National Family Health Survey also talks about sex ratios. Also the sex ratio also improved compared to the previous surveys, and along with that it also talks about the women in workforce. But here we have seen a negative trend in the workforce, where so many harassment according to this National Family Health Survey. So with this, let's go to the next question. Sorry, okay, before going to the next question, see, there is an article in Hindu that what made us to pick up this question. It mentioned about National Family Health Survey report card, the good, the sober, and the future. The article briefly talked about various prospects of the health survey. If you could see here, it's mentioned about 2.1, the total fertility rate, and the other indices also mentioned. I definitely urge all you to definitely go to National Family Health Survey and read its prospects, because the survey conducts once in every 5 years, and due to the pandemic, it took a longer deal of time to conduct it in two phases. So this is one of the most significant surveys in the women and child development as concerned. It makes all the more important for prelims as well as the mains. Okay, the next question. Consider the following statements regarding AFSPA. We all know what AFSPA is. AFSPA, the first statement is it applicable only to Nagaland. Second option is central government or the president or administrator of the UT can declare whole or part of the state or union territory as disturbed area. What would be the correct answer? Here, the correct answer is none of the above. There are no such correct answers because it applicable only in Nagaland. It's very much untrue because it also applicable to Manipur. It also applicable to some parts of Arunachal Pradesh, some parts of Assam. It's not just only Nagaland, for your kind information. And the second option, it says about president, definitely not. We have also spoken about this in the previous questions. It's the governor, it's not the president. Governor can declare whole or part of the state or union territory as disturbed area. AFSPA, as we all know, it is one of the contentious act in the independent India, along with the acts called UAPA, Sedition Act. We also have AFSPA, which totally targets about the civilian rights. There are so many commissions, committees, and judgments that spoke about repealing of AFSPA or somewhat reforming the AFSPA is concerned. Now there are hesitations are also continuing to remove AFSPA in Nagaland because of the recent killings happened by the Assam Rifles. So let's look at the context of this question. The context is the AFSPA extended by 6 more months in Nagaland. Despite all the protests, despite all the hartals that is happening, the government took this decision to extend it 6 more months because of the incursions and that insurgency is happening in the northeast. Okay. So the next question talks about electoral bonds. Consider the following statements. The bonds are issued in multiples of 1,000, 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh, 1 crore without any maximum limit. That's the first option. Second option says that SBI is the authorized authority to issue and encash these bonds, which are valid for 15 days from the date of issuance. Okay. The third option is these bonds are redeemable in designated account of a registered political party. So what would be the correct answer? If someone who is aware of the electoral bonds, they'll definitely say that none of them are false statements. All are correct answers. No, it makes the option C. All the three statements are correct. Yes, the limits are the multiples of the bond are as mentioned in the statements. Definitely SBI as an authority to issue to look after these bonds, and these bonds are redeemable in designated account of a registered political party, definitely. And if you could see more about these bonds are available for purchase of any person, be it even though citizen of India, who is a citizen of India or incorporated or established in India, for a period of 10 days in each month of Jan, April, July and October. Usually these are the months which ECs were issued. A person being an individual can buy bonds either singly or jointly with other individuals. Here the donor name is not mentioned on the bond. That what makes it quite controversial. So let's see the reason for picking up this article. As I said, these months, the Jan, April, July, October. Here now it's because of now this Jan is coming up. The bond sale is open to buy these bonds. So that's what make this article. And the next question. Consider the following statements. Election Commission of India is autonomous constitutional authority responsible for administrating union elections process only. I said it's only. It was established in accordance with Constitution on 25th Jan 1950, celebrated as National Voters Day. The Secretariat of Commission is located in New Delhi. What would be the correct answer? And if anyone who knows about who reads Indian polity, who knows something about election commission, that definitely put this option as wrong, because it's not just union election but also the state elections are also dealt by election commission, not just state elections. In that aspect, the Lok Sabha, Raj Sabha, state election assemblies and the offices of president and vice president are also held by election commission. Okay, there are provisions of articles 329 deals with the election commission and established a commission for these matters. Article 324 actually deals with the superintendent's direction control of elections to be vested in election commission. Okay, so that's all for this question. Let's see the reason for picking up. The reason for picking up is a reason statement by CEC regarding the upcoming UP election. We have also actually election commission also in news because of the recent meetups with the PMO. That also made it quite controversial, because as an independent body, some experts feels that there is no job for the CEC to meet with the PMO. That meeting has been also uncalled for various reasons. So CEC also is in news these days. So that's all for today, and again wish you happy and prosperous new year. Let's meet in the next session.